The Grand Assembly Chamber of the Galactic Council had witnessed declarations of war, peace treaties that reshaped star systems, and the rise and fall of civilizations that spanned thousands of worlds. Yet on this day, an uneasiness lingered in the air unlike anything most delegates had ever felt. More than 300 species filled the massive circular chamber. Representatives from ancient empires sat beside ambassadors from newly discovered worlds. Floating translation drones drifted silently overhead, while countless recording devices broadcast every word to trillions across known space. The topic under discussion seemed routine at first. A border dispute in a remote sector had brought tensions between several member states to the council floor. Arguments rose and fell as delegates defended their interests. Voices overlapped. Accusations were exchanged. Political maneuvering unfolded exactly as it always had. Then, humanity entered the debate. The moment the human representative requested recognition, the chamber's atmosphere shifted. Many species still struggled to understand humanity's place in the galaxy. Earth had joined the Galactic Council only 12 years earlier, a remarkably short time by interstellar standards. Most civilizations spent centuries earning influence. Humans had done it in barely a decade. That rapid rise unsettled many powerful governments. Officially, humanity was respected. Unofficially, it was feared. Earth carried a classification almost no advanced civilization possessed anymore: Deathworld origin. The designation was reserved for species that evolved under environmental conditions so hostile that survival itself became a constant struggle. Predators, extreme weather, violent tectonic activity, deadly diseases, high gravity. Every factor that usually prevented intelligent life from reaching the stars had somehow produced humans instead. The representative standing before the council embodied none of the terrifying legends surrounding his species. He was calm, composed, and dressed in a formal diplomatic uniform. His posture remained relaxed as he reviewed reports regarding the disputed sector. His name was Commander Nathan Hale. Although serving as a diplomatic envoy, he had spent most of his life in military service before transitioning into politics. Human leadership had selected him precisely because of his reputation for patience and self-control. Across the chamber sat another commander whose reputation was very different. Commander Zaldar of the Karen Dominion was one of the most celebrated military figures in the region. Victorious in numerous campaigns, feared by enemies and admired by allies, he carried himself with the confidence of someone accustomed to absolute authority. Unfortunately, he also possessed a dangerous amount of pride. As discussions continued, Hale presented evidence that the disputed territory legally belonged to a smaller coalition protected under council law. His argument was concise, supported by historical records and navigation data. Several delegates nodded in agreement. Zaldar did not. The Karen commander rose from his seat and immediately dismissed the evidence as manipulation. The debate intensified. Soon it became less about territory and more about humanity itself. Zaldar openly questioned whether humans deserved a place among established galactic powers. He described them as violent newcomers hiding behind diplomacy. He mocked Earth's short history in interstellar affairs and suggested that other species only tolerated humans because they feared their unpredictable behavior. Some delegates looked uncomfortable. Others seemed entertained. Nathan Hale remained completely calm. He answered every accusation with facts. He never raised his voice. That restraint only appeared to irritate Zaldar further. The alien commander began pacing across the chamber floor while addressing the assembly. His words grew increasingly personal. He accused humans of relying on intimidation instead of wisdom. He claimed their so-called Deathworld reputation was exaggerated propaganda designed to frighten weaker civilizations. A few representatives exchanged nervous glances. The humans still did not react. To many observers, that silence looked like weakness. Zaldar clearly reached the same conclusion. A grin spread across his face as he stopped directly in front of Hale. The entire chamber watched. Recording drones focused on the confrontation. Even the translators seemed to fall silent. The Karen commander leaned forward. "Tell me, human," he said. "Without your stories and myths, what exactly are you?" Nathan Hale met his gaze without moving. "I am a representative of Earth." Laughter erupted from several sections of the chamber. Zaldar laughed loudest of all. Then he raised one hand. For a brief moment, nobody believed he would actually do it. The strike echoed across the assembly hall. The slap landed hard against Hale's face. Every sound vanished instantly. Hundreds of delegates froze in disbelief. The human slowly turned his head back toward the alien commander. No anger appeared on his face. No fear. No panic. Only a cold, unreadable calm. Then he rose from his seat. And for the first time that day, a feeling of genuine danger settled over the chamber. Nathan Hale looked directly into Zaldar's eyes. His voice was quiet. "You have 5 seconds to apologize." Zaldar stared at him. Then he laughed. Laughter rolled through parts of the chamber. Commander Zaldar threw his head back and grinned as though the warning itself was the final joke. 5 seconds, he said. Or what? Nathan Hale said nothing. The silence that followed felt heavier than the arguments that had filled the council only moments earlier. Hundreds of delegates watched without speaking. Some expected the human to back down. Others expected security to intervene before anything escalated further. Neither happened. The countdown continued. Zaldar folded his arms across his chest, deliberately mocking the situation. He took a slow step closer, towering over the human envoy. "Your species hides behind stories," he said. "You expect us to fear you because your world is difficult? Because you survived a few predators and storms?" No response. Perhaps the legends were exaggerated after all. 3 seconds remained. The Karen commander's confidence never wavered. Why would it? He was larger, stronger by most biological measurements, and surrounded by witnesses who had just watched him publicly humiliate a representative of Earth. To Zaldar, the outcome seemed obvious. To everyone else, uncertainty was beginning to replace amusement. Nathan Hale remained perfectly still, not tense, not angry, simply waiting. The final second passed. For a fraction of a moment, nothing happened. Several delegates relaxed. Then the impossible occurred. One instant Hale stood motionless. The next instant, he was moving. Later, analysts would study the recordings thousands of times. Military experts from dozens of species would slow the footage to its lowest possible speed. Even then, many struggled to understand exactly what they were seeing. The human crossed the distance between them with astonishing precision. Zaldar reacted immediately, but reacting was not enough. The Karen commander reached for the ceremonial sidearm attached to his armor. He never completed the motion. Hale intercepted the movement before the weapon cleared its housing. A brief struggle followed. Not a prolonged battle. Not a dramatic exchange. Just a series of controlled actions executed with ruthless efficiency. Zaldar had spent decades winning wars. Entire fleets obeyed his commands. Opponents throughout the sector respected his combat record. None of it mattered. The confrontation lasted only seconds. When it ended, the Karen commander collapsed to the floor. The chamber froze. No one moved. No one spoke. Security personnel positioned around the assembly stared in disbelief. They had witnessed countless disputes among powerful species, but never anything like this. Nathan Hale stepped back and adjusted his uniform. His breathing remained steady. His expression remained calm. The same composure he had displayed throughout the debate had not changed. That fact unsettled observers more than the confrontation itself. A decorated military hero had challenged him directly. The human had responded. Then it was over. Panic spread through the chamber. Several delegates activated emergency communication devices. Others demanded immediate arrests. Translation systems struggled to keep pace as hundreds of voices erupted simultaneously. Security teams finally rushed forward. Energy weapons were raised. Protective barriers activated across the assembly hall. Nathan Hale did not resist. He simply returned to his seat. The lead security officer approached cautiously. "Commander Hale," the officer said, "you are ordered to remain where you are pending investigation." "I have no intention of leaving," Hale replied. The officer hesitated. "What happened here?" For the first time since standing, The human glanced toward the fallen commander. "I gave him a chance." The statement spread through the chamber almost instantly. A chance. Not a threat. Not an excuse. A chance. Many delegates suddenly remembered the warning. 5 seconds. A public opportunity to de-escalate. An opportunity that had been rejected. Across known space, live broadcasts continued transmitting every moment. News agencies interrupted scheduled programming. Political commentators abandoned prepared reports. Military networks secured copies of the footage before public channels became overloaded. Within minutes, billions had seen the confrontation. Within an hour, trillions. The reactions were immediate. Some called for sanctions against humanity. Others argued that council law clearly prohibited assaults against diplomatic representatives. Legal experts began debating jurisdiction. Military analysts focused on something else entirely: the speed, the control, the efficiency. Most disturbing of all was the discovery that Nathan Hale was not considered one of humanity's elite combat specialists. He was a diplomat. A former military officer, certainly, but not among Earth's most dangerous warriors. As that realization spread, concern began replacing outrage. If an ordinary human envoy could do this under pressure, what might the rest of their species be capable of? Back inside the chamber, delegates continued arguing while investigators secured evidence. Nathan Hale sat quietly amid the chaos. For the first time since humanity joined the Galactic Council, the galaxy was no longer debating whether humans were dangerous. It was debating how badly it had underestimated them. For the next 72 standard hours, the galaxy talked about nothing else. Every major news network replayed the council footage continuously. Commentators dissected every movement frame by frame. Political analysts debated legal consequences. Military experts focused on the part that disturbed them most: the ease with which the confrontation had ended. The recordings revealed no hesitation. No emotional outburst. No loss of control. Nathan Hale had acted with calculated precision, then immediately returned to complete calm. That detail transformed the conversation. At first, many believed the incident proved humans were dangerously aggressive. As more specialists reviewed the evidence, a different conclusion began to emerge. The human had not started the conflict. He had not escalated it. He had provided a warning. Then he followed through. Across dozens of worlds, governments ordered intelligence agencies to reopen archived files concerning Earth and its people. Reports that had gathered dust for years suddenly became mandatory reading among military and political circles. What they discovered unsettled them. Humanity's history was far stranger than most citizens realized. Long before developing faster-than-light travel, humans had survived conditions that many advanced species considered impossible. Earth was not merely difficult. By galactic standards, it bordered on absurd. Its gravity exceeded comfortable tolerances for most intelligent life. Its climate shifted violently. Natural disasters occurred with alarming frequency. Predatory animals had evolved specifically to hunt creatures their own size. Microscopic organisms capable of causing deadly illnesses existed everywhere. Yet humanity had emerged from that environment stronger because of those hardships. Researchers studying human biology highlighted characteristics previously overlooked. Humans could continue functioning despite injuries that incapacitated many species. They adapted rapidly to unfamiliar conditions. Their bodies tolerated extraordinary physical stress. Most remarkable was their psychology. Rather than avoiding danger entirely, humans often learned from it. Rather than collapsing under pressure, many became more focused. Those traits had been documented repeatedly throughout Earth's history. The Council incident suddenly made those reports impossible to ignore. Military academies began conducting simulations based on human behavioral patterns. The results created additional concern. Again and again, technologically superior forces underestimated human adaptability. Again and again, humans found unconventional solutions. Again and again, predictions failed. A classified report leaked from a strategic research institute on the world of Talresh. The document contained an assessment written years before humanity joined the Council. Its conclusions spread rapidly through political circles. Humanity's greatest strength is not physical capability. It is the inability of opponents to accurately predict human responses. That single sentence explained much. The galaxy preferred order. Humans excelled in uncertainty. The more information emerged, the more public opinion shifted. Attention soon turned toward Nathan Hale himself. Journalists investigated his background, expecting to uncover an elite combat specialist. Instead, they found something surprising. Hale's military record was respectable, but not extraordinary by human standards. He had commanded personnel, negotiated conflicts, and completed advanced training programs. Nothing suggested he represented the peak of human combat capability. The revelation caused widespread alarm. If Hale was average among experienced military professionals, then humanity possessed countless individuals with similar skills. Some likely possessed far greater abilities. Several governments quietly increased defensive readiness. Others initiated diplomatic outreach toward Earth. Nobody wanted to become humanity's enemy until they better understood the species. Meanwhile, the human government remained unusually quiet. Officials issued brief statements supporting the Council investigation and reaffirming commitment to interstellar law. No threats were made. No celebrations occurred. No attempt was made to exploit the growing fear. That restraint attracted attention. Many leaders had expected humanity to capitalize on the incident politically. Instead, Earth behaved as though the matter were straightforward. A diplomat had been assaulted. A warning had been ignored. Consequences followed. While debates continued, a development emerged that changed everything. One of the oldest civilizations in known space requested an emergency summit. The Varellan hegemony rarely involved itself in contemporary politics. Its empire predated most current governments by thousands of years. When Varellan leaders spoke, entire sectors listened. Their announcement was brief. They intended to discuss humanity. Specifically, they intended to discuss why ancient Varellan archives contained repeated warnings regarding Deathworld species. Within hours, speculation consumed every major information network. If one of the galaxy's oldest powers possessed knowledge about humans that others lacked, the implications could be enormous. For the first time since the Council incident, public attention shifted away from Nathan Hale. The galaxy had begun asking a much larger question. Not what a single human could do, but what an entire civilization of Deathworlders might become. The emergency summit convened less than a week after the Council incident, and attendance reached record levels. Governments that normally ignored interstellar politics sent their highest-ranking representatives. Military observers filled every available seat. Intelligence agencies monitored every transmission. The galaxy wanted answers. The Varellan hegemony rarely requested special assemblies, and history showed that when it did, major events usually followed. The Varellan speaker entered the chamber without ceremony. Age had granted their civilization immense authority. They had explored the stars when many modern powers were still developing basic industry. Their archives contained records stretching back thousands of years beyond the memory of most governments. When the speaker began, the chamber immediately fell silent. Our ancestors encountered multiple Deathworld species during the earliest expansion era, the Varellan representative said. Most no longer exist. Some destroyed themselves. Others were eliminated by external threats. A small number survived and became major powers. Every delegate listened carefully. What separated survivors from the rest was not physical strength. It was adaptability. A series of historical records appeared across countless displays. Ancient conflicts, collapsed empires, failed invasions, military disasters. Again and again, the same pattern emerged. Advanced civilizations often assumed technological superiority, guaranteed victory. Deathworld species repeatedly proved otherwise. The presentation lasted hours. By the end, many governments found themselves comparing the historical examples to humanity. The similarities were impossible to ignore. While the summit unfolded, another crisis was developing behind closed doors. Commander Zaldar had not merely been a military officer. He belonged to one of the most influential families within the Karen Dominion. His death created political shockwaves throughout the empire. Hardline leaders demanded retaliation. They argued that allowing the incident to pass unanswered would signal weakness. Others strongly disagreed. They pointed out that millions had witnessed the confrontation. The evidence clearly showed that Zaldar initiated the assault. Galactic law provided little support for claims of injustice. The debate soon divided the Dominion itself. Military commanders requested strategic assessments. The results were not encouraging. Analysts examined humanity's fleet structure, industrial capacity, and logistical networks. They expected to find weaknesses common among relatively young interstellar powers. Instead, they discovered something unexpected. Human military doctrine emphasized flexibility above all else. Their fleets operated differently from established galactic standards. Command structures encouraged independent decision-making. Field officers possessed unusual authority. Contingency plans existed for scenarios many species never considered. The more researchers studied humanity, the less confident they became. At the same time, Earth remained remarkably consistent. Human diplomats attended meetings. Human trade routes continued operating. Human officials avoided inflammatory statements. When reporters repeatedly demanded reactions, Earth's government issued only a brief response. "We seek peace.
We do not seek conflict."
However, peace should never be mistaken for helplessness. The message spread rapidly. Many expected it to sound threatening. Instead, it sounded like a warning rooted in experience. Smaller nations responded first. Several governments approached Earth regarding economic agreements and defensive partnerships. These states had long existed under the shadow of larger powers. Watching a powerful commander face consequences for abusing authority resonated with them. Support for humanity gradually expanded, not because people feared humans, because many respected their restraint. Nathan Hale became the focus of endless public discussion. His refusal to celebrate the incident gained almost as much attention as the event itself. He granted no interviews, made no speeches, offered no personal commentary. That silence strengthened his reputation. Meanwhile, pressure continued building inside the Karen Dominion. Public anger demanded action. Political pride demanded action. Certain military factions demanded action. Eventually, the Dominion's supreme ruler authorized a confidential strategic review. The order remained classified, but information rarely stayed secret for long. Rumors spread through intelligence circles within days. Fleet movements increased near key military sectors. Weapons production accelerated. Recruitment campaigns expanded. Officially, no war preparations existed. Unofficially, many observers reached the same conclusion. The Dominion was considering revenge. Earth noticed. Of course it noticed. Human intelligence services had monitored interstellar politics for decades. Nothing occurring inside the Dominion escaped their attention. Yet humanity still made no threats. No ultimatums. No displays of force. No dramatic declarations. That calm reaction unsettled experienced strategists more than open hostility would have. Because history taught a dangerous lesson. The most confident opponents were often the loudest. The most dangerous opponents usually remained quiet. And as fleets quietly gathered beyond public view, an increasing number of leaders across the galaxy began wondering whether the Karen Dominion was preparing to make the worst mistake in its history.